So I'm going to record this. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to try and share my screen. Share. Yeah, there we go. So I hope you can see this. The assessments that you've got coming up at the moment, and you can see I got a lot of marking to do. You should be working on hacking a website. That should be happening right now. That's the last thing that I worked with you regarding. And there's a compressed folder for you to do, and then there's the assignment 4, which is kind of a different kind of assignment. In that one, what you're doing is you're actually writing answers on a page to answer the question. That's right, about the menus. Sorry, about the forms. And then the other thing that you've got to consider is the project. So if we look at the project, actually, I might have it open here. Do I? No. No. So the project, let me see. Term project. I'm sorry, this is, I didn't have this open. It'll be up here. Yeah, so the term project, some people are already asking me about these tasks at the end. That's where you should be sort of working at the moment, is that you have to have done, you have to create a contact form in your final submission. Should have done the CSS for both the desktop and the mobile. And now the final submission, that's actually the biggest marks. You could get 60% for the term project without having done any of the other tasks, because the final submission actually has to include all of them. So the reason why we did this in sort of a bunch of tasks is so that at the end, the 60 marks shouldn't be too hard for you to do, because you've already sort of done most of the work. So the only thing that you have to do is add a contact form. And what I noticed is actually in the websites that I'd seen, a lot of people have already done something. And actually, I'm thinking another class, I think. But yeah, it shouldn't be too hard for you to do a contact form now. So that's due on the 3rd of April. I don't think that I can make that much. I don't think I can give you much how you say, leeway on that. You're probably just going to have to make that deadline.
Sir?
Yes.
So for the delivery 6, we are sending the estimate.
So the final delivery, what I do want you to, as you say, send it. So 2 parts to that. Could you please make a compressed folder with your full website for delivery 6, and so that I can, that'll allow me to actually look inside your HTML and CSS and see what you've done there. But could you also use the FileZilla to put that onto your SIT server in your folder under the public_HTML, and then provide a link to it so I can see how it sort of works there. If you do that, that's how you'll get your full sort of marks on that. Yeah, the only extra thing that you need to do from what you've done already is to add that contact form, because basically everything else is there. So the 60 marks is not for the contact form. The 60 marks is taking into account that you've done this full website now, and the 60 marks is for the full website. So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so all right, so that's the project that's due now. As I was saying on that, I can't really give you much leeway on the timing on that. So I have been giving a bit of leeway on various tasks and assignments, labs, but we're coming up to a hard stop on this. And the hard stop is pretty soon after the 3rd of April, really, because what's going to happen then is on the 7th of April, you're going to have your exam. And yeah, you don't want to be working on projects and stuff like that before the exam. Now, the other thing I didn't mention just here is, though it's not mentioned in the project assignment form there, there is mentioned in the course outline that in that last week, we would have project interviews. So the idea of the project interview is to basically a verification of the work that you've done. So it's your opportunity to demonstrate to me your understanding of the project. Now that's it's a large class, and I got two large classes, so it's I won't necessarily ask every student to do that, but it's quite possible that I could ask you to. So if you don't want me to interview you and sort of ask you about your project, then what I suggest you do is make a great effort in the way that you present your project to show your understanding of it, so that there's no question in my mind that you have. And of course, students who have been contacting me a lot through the semester and asked me certain things about the project, well, yeah, they probably wouldn't need an interview. But maybe a student that I didn't hear anything from, and then all of a sudden here's this project. Yeah, well, then now that will be an opportunity for them to sort of demonstrate their understanding of the project. So that's the idea of the interview. And as I said, it's not certain that you'll have that interview, but you may. So that's the project. Then the other thing is the exam. So the exam, there will be 3 classrooms set aside for my 2 sections. And so basically what I mean by that is that you won't necessarily all be in the same room together. There'll be one teacher in the room, so it's going to be kind of tricky. It's a little bit harder than the way we've normally done exams from that point of view, because the way we've normally done exams is we've normally had 2 people in the exam room. So this time we're only going to have 1 person in the exam room. I hope you can see where that could cause problems for students. For example, the student who needs to go to the bathroom. How are we going to do that, right? We can't really just sort of send somebody out there with you. So, I mean, just be a little bit more careful. I do expect the exam conditions to be the same as the conditions that we had in the tests. So far that has been that we've gone into a room and we've had to use a computer to do an HTML assignment, which may be 1 or 2 pages or something like that. But you should expect that it's a little bit more than the test. And the reason for that is because it's going to be a 3-hour exam instead of a 2-hour exam. So you should expect that maybe if you had to do 2 pages in the test, maybe you have to do 3 pages in this one, something like that. You should expect that everything that we've done in the course could be on the test, on the final exam. So the final exam is 30%. It could cover anything. Now, the other thing is the 30% thing. That means that it has to be at the college. If you think that you can't get to the college for that exam, you need to contact Lee Willis kind of like immediately and sort of put forward, not like the day before the exam or the day of the exam. So the exam is on campus, and you need to sort of be thinking in a way of coming to college to do that exam. Yeah, so we won't have any more than 15 or 16 people in a classroom. So that's a COVID thing. You can't expect that you'll necessarily have Visual Studio Code or brackets. So be prepared to use Notepad++. I know that Notepad++ is in all of those rooms, but I can't vouch for those other 2, Visual Studio Plus or brackets. So be prepared to do it in Notepad++. And that's about it. I think yeah. So by the 7th of April, which is a Wednesday, which is like 2 weeks from now. So now we're talking about 13 days from now. You need to have all of this done, everything, right? You need to be ready for that test and exam. And that exam is 30%. So that does mean, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but that does mean that, yeah, I suppose you could maybe pass this course without doing the final exam, because if you had 100% on everything else, you'd get 70. But why would you do that, right? Why wouldn't you sort of sit the exam and get 100? Yeah. So I mean, you need to get 50 to pass. So it's quite possible that we're going to have several students in this course, in this class, that have already set up to pass the course before they sit the exam. Yeah, and certainly, yeah, you want to get an A, not a C, right? So, yeah, come and do the exam, knowing that that pressure is a little less on you. But okay, so that's the good thing of it. The bad thing about it, from student point of view, might be that because it's 30% exams, we're not actually offering supplemental exams, as far as I know. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of supplemental exam, but the way that used to work was if you got a mark somewhere between 40% and 46% for the course, then you could do the exam again. I don't think that's going to happen. The word that I got was won't be any more of that. So yeah, so it's a little because the idea is that you should have had enough marks to pass the course before you did the exam in the first place. So that's the way that that's going to sort out. Hope that sounds okay to you guys. If there are any questions, let me know. I'll try and sort of deal with them.